Welcome back into the kitchen. This is our next recipe as part of our dinner party menu, or dinner with Scott. So we're going to make a sorbet. Now sorbets are generally served as a dessert, but they came from an area where you actually had a palate cleanser, which was a sorbet, to cleanse your palate from your entree to your main course. So if you're eating something quite spicy, say for example garlic prawns as your entree, and then you're going to eat something a bit more delicate for your main, the way the sorbet worked was to actually remove that strong smell from your palate. That's why it's called a palate cleanser, so from your throat, from your mouth, so your mouth was refreshed, ready to actually have the next course, and those strong flavours weren't going to actually affect that next course. So we're making a berry sorbet today. You can make any flavour you like. The recipe that you can get from Q for this recipe is for berries, but you could substitute it with whatever flavourings you want, as long as you keep the quantities the same. So we're going to start off with our puree. So what I've done here is taken some mixed berries, frozen berries at this time of year, you could use fresh, and I've basically put them into a food processor, processed them until they're really fine, and then I've passed it through a sieve. So I've actually got a nice puree. So that goes into my bowl. So again, if you wanted a passion fruit sorbet, you could use fresh passion fruit. So we're just going to break that down a wee bit. To that we're going to add the sugar. So in goes the sugar. And we're just going to mix that around to incorporate it. It can just sit there. Then we've got what's known as liquid glucose. So I've already got mine in the bowl ready to go. This is how you buy it in the supermarket. So basically it's a sugar syrup, it's a liquid glucose. So we need basically 150 grams of liquid glucose. So it's already in my bowl. I'm going to sit it on top of my water. So I've just got some boiling water in a pot, and what we need to do is to get the glucose to a liquid form, because as you can see, that's how it comes. It's very sticky, a bit like golden syrup, so we want to actually get that softened down till it becomes a liquid. So while that's going on, I'm also going to squeeze some lime juice. So we need around about 25 mils of lime juice into the mixture. If you didn't have limes around, you could use lemons, would be fine as well. You just want a wee bit of acid in there. So in goes our lime juice. Now I want to get my whisk in there, and I want to whisk all those ingredients together. So we've got our berry puree, our sugar, and our lime juice. And you want to whisk this until the sugar dissolves in that mixture, which doesn't take very long. So you could make a lemon sorbet, you can make a lemon and gin sorbet, but you just got to be careful with the alcohol, because the alcohol doesn't freeze that well, so just a wee bit of the alcohol in there. But you could just use lemon juice instead of the actual berry puree that we're using. So I can feel that that's just about dissolved. So we'll just go back to our liquid glucose, which is just about there. Don't want to burn ourselves. Now what I find for this next stage is normally we'd actually transfer this into our mixture, but because it's very sticky, we're going to transfer our berry puree into the glucose. Just makes life a lot easier. So I've now got that to a liquid consistency by just heating it up over the double boiler. So we'll remove the fork. So now we just transfer our berry mixture in, back to our whisk, and we want to whisk all that together very quickly, because that syrup will start to go back to a thick consistency. So once all that's combined, something like a little plastic bottle, ice cream container, transfer that into it. Pop a lid on it, and then pop it into your freezer. Now if you're lucky enough to have an ice cream machine, where you could actually put that in your ice cream machine to churn. Then you'd put that into the ice cream machine and follow the manufacturer instructions, and it would churn and freeze your ice cream, or in this case the sorbet. So I don't have an ice cream machine to make the sorbet, so I put this into the freezer, and about once it starts to set, I then get a fork and I break up all the ice crystals. So we don't want big lumps of ice, we want quite fine ice crystals. So I do that a couple of times, and then once it's set finally, it's then ready to go. So it will store in your fridge quite happily, and you can pull it out ready to use. So that would go into our freezer. So magic of television, here's one that I did prepare earlier, so it will be nice and frozen. So with it being a palate cleanser, we don't need a large quantity. So I'm only using a little very small glass, I only get a little small scoop, but of course they're wonderful with desserts as well. So you could use this as an accompaniment to a dessert. So if you made like a nice chocolate tart, little scoop of your berry sorbet with that would be really wonderful. Or you make 3 flavours and have a selection of flavours. So I'm just going to dip my ice cream scoop in a wee bit of warm water. And we're just going to pop in here and roll a nice little scoop. As I said, it doesn't have to be large by any means. It's just to cleanse the palate. So that's all we need for our guests to actually eat that with a wonderful little spoon. Remember, it's quite cold, so if your guests aren't used to a sorbet, you might have to warn them so they actually don't get a real bit of a shock. But there's our berry sorbet, which is one of our courses as part of our Dinner with Scott series. I'll see you next time when I'm going to start on the preparation for the main course.